Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on live shows. If you like what we're doing and would like to help support the show, visit patreon.com/afteractionproject. If you'd like to throw us some free support and appreciation, we'd greatly appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes. Tonight's episode, just like every episode, is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. Be sure to check out the other great podcasts on the Firearms Radio Network by visiting firearmsradio.tv. This is probably the most redundant freaking intro in podcasting history ever. So before we get into the show, though, I'd like to mention our newest show sponsor, 2A Buyers Group, a membership site that offers members wholesale and dealer pricing on firearms and firearms-related products. Visit 2abuyersgroup.com for more information. Tonight, we are joined by Aaargo Jay to discuss his movie, Black Ops, the documentary, a movie that will break stereotypes and bring light to the negative perception of black males and firearms in America. If you'd like to help bring this project to life, visit gofundme.com/blackops. And that information is in the show notes and will be promoted along with the show. So let's get into it. Aaargo, talk to us a little bit about what got you into the firearms industry and where you are today, kind of that path that led you to the documentary that you've been working on.
Absolutely. It's funny because it's all relative. I'd been a gun dude for a long time. That was nothing new for me. But one day, a few years ago, about 7-8 years ago now, I was at home and I'd come home with a stupid, I was drunk as hell, had been out the night before, woke up with a terrible hangover. I thought my head was pounding, but it was legitimately somebody at my side door, pounding at my door. The video that I put up tells this story. It's called Why I Needed My AR-15. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to go look at it. But I hear this pounding and I'm like, what's going on? Then the pounding is getting louder, then it's banging. And then I could tell that that's a person kicking or banging at my door. So I went to look out my kitchen window, which allowed me to look out to see the back without people seeing me. And I saw about 7 or 8 people standing on the side of my house trying to kick that door in. I lived in a duplex at the time, and I lived at the bottom unit. And the upper unit was the unit that belonged to the person they were trying to get to. However, you were kicking at my door. So, that's problematic for me because if you get in, you don't know where this dude stays. You just are going to get in my house and my kids are in the other room and all kind of shit. So, I thought they might go away. They didn't go away. Make a long story short, more people ended up coming because they were trying to jump this dude because he had slept with somebody's girl. And I saw a couple of guns and I didn't see and on the YouTube video, in the YouTube comments, people say, well, why did 13 armed guys come to your house? I didn't say there were 13 armed guys. There were 13 guys and some of them were armed. I definitely saw at least 2 or 3 little pistols in their pockets and hands. And I said, oh shit. And I grabbed my rifle. I grabbed my rifle and I went to the front door where they couldn't see me because they were all focused on that side door. And I went around to the side of my house and I said, hey, dudes, you probably want to not do that shit. And long story short, they ended up seeing my rifle and were probably very, very regretful that they made that decision to come bang on my door. But I pray, I'm thankful and I thank God that they did not pursue it any further because I was not afraid to have to use it. I would have waken up the entire neighborhood, but that wouldn't have mattered to me at all because my kids were in that house. And that's the video I put out. And, it's almost close to 2 million views on one video. You know what I mean? And so many damn comments, but the comments were so negative. So negative. Oh, you're lying. Oh, you must be a drug dealer or this, that, and the other. And oh, they just wanted to come and get your guns. They had no idea I had guns until I fucking came out with my fucking rifle, oh, sorry. Oh yeah, we can cuss. But they had no idea that I had guns. They were just trying to get to my neighbor. But like I said, I'm not going to allow you to come into my home because you don't know where my neighbor is once you get in our house, so you're going to kick in my door trying to find this dude. And no. And so many people are like, well, why didn't you just let him come in and then you shoot him and shit like that? I get it. I get where people are coming from. But there's no way I'm going to allow anybody to come into my home where my kids are sleeping and I can take the fight to them. If I take the fight to them and something happens to me, so be it. You know what I mean? At least it happened outside the home. My kids are now safe. They can call 911 or what the fuck ever. You know, there's no way I'm going to allow anybody in my home ever if I have that advantage. And people don't know the strategic advantage that I would have had that I had by going out and confronting them the way I did. Oh, you gave up your position of advantage. No, I didn't, fucker. I know my house. You know what I mean? I know what I was doing. But anyway, so that's the video that I put out that got me kind of started on this YouTube train. And then, you know, more videos came, and then I started doing gun and gear reviews and different things. And I started to grow in popularity. And as things started to progress, I continued to receive a lot of negative comments about that video. That video today still gets negative comments. And it made me think, like, why is that? You know, and I really started to analyze why people would think those things, why people were accusing me of those things. And the only answer I could come up with is because I'm a Black American. Because I see other videos on television where people are praising guys for doing the exact same thing that I did, but all of a sudden I'm a drug dealer. They were coming to steal my drugs, and I'm talking about it, you know, openly on YouTube. Yeah, I'm a drug dealer. You know, that makes perfect sense. But it just goes to show the divide that there is in America. You know, when you're dealing with Black, brown, and anybody specifically non-white, you know, it's just a brutal. There's just brutal imagery, you know, and association and things that people think when it comes to firearms and non-white Americans. And it got me to thinking, I need to talk about this. So I started to write things down that I saw that were happening in community and society, and Black Ops was born. About 4 years ago, I completed the documentary script. You can't really have a script for a documentary, but more so the outline, the treatment for it. And, you know, it's been a labor of love for the last 4 years. However, I'm glad it's taken that long because there's so many things that have happened since I wrote it initially that I need to include in it. Specifically speaking, the things like the Philando Castile situation, the Tatiana Jefferson situation in Texas. You know, like these are legally armed Black Americans who were murdered, police officers who were cowards. Enforcement. Don't think that I'm not pro law enforcement. For anybody looking, law enforcement is my background. That's what I did. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's, you know, me against cops, fuck the police. No, that's not what I'm saying. I support good police, you know, but that's the key. I support good police. I support police that protect the community like they protect their own, regardless of color or religion or lifestyle choice or anything, you know. So so these things are being added into the documentary, and I've got a whole slew of good people to help shift that image and help change that image and that perception, because we're not all criminals and thugs and gangbangers and drug dealers and murderers. Like, would you believe it? Like, but no, seriously though. So yeah, so that's kind of how I got in the industry and how I got to where I am now and how the documentary came about.
Nice. What are some of the stereotypes and the misperceptions that people have that you see most frequently pop up? And you mentioned the negative comments on the video, and I can only imagine how ignorant the vast majority of them were. But I guess if you had to say the big three, what are the big three misconceptions and stereotypes with firearms and Black Americans?
That it's that firearms and Black Americans, the only association is with criminal activity. That's the biggest, I think, because everything else stems from that. So I think once you hit that bullet point, all the others are just subtopics of that, you know. So that's not the case, because it's either I'm a drug dealer or I did something I shouldn't have, or I did XYZ that was all, but all of them are illegal activities. So, it's like, come the fuck on. If I was some white dude from, well, I'm from the Midwest, but if I was some white dude here in the Midwest saying the same shit, they'd be like, right on, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and that's crazy. And I feel like if I was, maybe Mexican or Puerto Rican, like they would say the same stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, fuck that. You were some drug dealer, or, you were this, that, and the other. Like, that had nothing to do with anything. These were some idiots which happened. This shit happens every day. These are some idiots that came to jump my neighbor because he slept with their buddy's girlfriend. Like, that's all. It was over a girl. You got dudes about to lose their life over, a vagina, and that's ridiculous. Like, vagina has been killing men for years, though, for eons, though. But but still, like, it's ridiculous. We're not all inclined to be involved in criminal activity. I'm an educator now. Like, that's what I do. I'm a teacher, and I love it. And I love the children. I love all that. But we have to shift that, because for some reason, it's always criminal activity. Yeah. And I think that's because that's what the media portrays. And then modern day rap music and hip hop is all pretty much shit. And the message is different from when I was coming up. When I was coming up, rap and hip hop was still looked at negatively, but there was a message, there was a message in it. You know what I mean? And the message was, trying to change the circumstances and situations that plague the Black community, and uplift the people. But now it's all about popping pills and shooting people and doing drugs and all kind of shit. I mean, they got cool beats and it sounds good. I love to dance to it, but like, there's no substance to it. And that's the image that I think America rides with. America rides with the gangbangers, or, people wearing their hat like this. Like I have to wear my hat like this because I'm Black. Get the fuck out of here. Like it's just ridiculous. So.
I think it's convenient. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just gonna say, you're right, man. Well, first thing I'm gonna say is, man, I miss me some gangster rap music. I ain't gonna lie.
Me too, bro.
Grew up in the 90s, and I honestly, I don't like the new rap music anymore for that exact reason. Because you listen to it, and maybe I'm getting old. I don't know, but a lot of that shit doesn't make sense to me. But the rest of it that does, same thing, popping pills, and it's just the same crap. That's like, man, come on, you guys, way more creative than that shit. But
right.
You can listen to old school rap on Pandora or Spotify.
Yep.
Oh, you listen to it, but it's fucking everywhere, man. Like, Spotify, listen to that. Yeah, no.
But little before we get into it further, I just want your opinion on something. So, and it might even have been your Instagram page. If you guys don't follow Aaargo, then follow Aaargo Instagram. Kevin Dixie at NOC. There's a bunch of these scary Black dudes, right? These gangbangers over here. But anyway,
absolutely.
One of you guys posted a meme. And it says, all you white people need to quit using the N-word. And I was like, man, why don't we all stop using that? But tell me about that. What's your opinion?
On the N-word?
Yeah. Well, just in general, like, only, it's this old thing that, only Black people could say the N-word. And
you know what? It is, and it isn't. And it's touchy and it's ignorant all at the same time. Like you could call me a nigger all you want to, and it's not going to affect me because it's a word, and I know who I am. I'm firmly secure in my person. However, I do understand the root of that word, and because you use it, that means that you're trying to be malicious. Okay, that you're using it with malicious intent. Okay, if you're not Black and you're using it. But it's become so commonplace now that, I mean, I hear white kids calling each other nigga. I hear Mexicans and Puerto Ricans calling each other nigga. You know what I mean? And it's just a word, and it has become, it has been adopted as a term of endearment, quote unquote. It doesn't bother me. Words don't bother me. I once saw a movie. I forgot what movie it was. It was a guy going undercover. I think it was, I don't know. It was a cop movie. Black dude was going undercover. And the guy said, what would happen if I call you a nigger? And the cop that was applying for the undercover job just sat there. And he said, if I would give you a response, then I'd be that nigger that you're calling me. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's like dogs. If you tell a dog to sit, a dog will sit. You tell a dog to lay down, a dog will lay down. You tell a dog to roll over, the dog rolls over. You call a black person a nigga, oh my God, now I have to react. But your reaction validates their statement. So I don't give it any inkling. However, if you use it, I now know your intentions and I'm still going to handle you accordingly. But it's not because of the word. It's because of the behind the word.
Yeah.
So I don't really give two shits about that word, man. It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't make or break me. However, I do realize that that word was used in conjunction with some very, very heinous acts against people that look like me in the past. And that part of history can never be erased or forgotten, because that part of history, however vile it is part of the history that helped form this great country of ours.
Yeah.
So the great country was formed on some real live bullshit, so.
So which brings me kind of to my point, in as far as bringing you into guns, right, Argo? I'm watching you and KD and a lot of other guys that one thing, and I haven't watched you enough, I guess, maybe, and tell me if I'm wrong, but KD, he really breaks it down. Like he Kevin Dixie, by the way, he breaks it down and talks about, what it was like being a black person growing up in America in the beginning, where they were literally killing people and bombing people, and but yet the minority community generally follows that kind of political side. And so how do we get more and more minorities to start understanding, like, man, you guys understand what you're following, right? You know what I mean? Like, how do we get that across even farther?
I wish I had that answer. I really do. Because it's a struggle that I deal with all the time. However, the great thing I think about our country is your ability to be whoever you want to be and to choose whatever political party you want to choose. So, I've more recently stopped blaming the left. You know what I mean? Stop blaming the Democrats and all that. However, I understand that they're the party that is doing the majority of the nonsense when it comes to gun control. I mean, you look at what's going on in Virginia and Washington State and in Georgia, even here in Wisconsin. It's the Democratic Party that's pushing all that gun control. However, there are gun control proponents that are Republican. You look at Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. He's the big one. He fucking hates guns. But the history of it, though, is something that was hidden from not just us, but from everybody. Mm-hmm. Because if you look at the political history and how things play out, the Republican Party was founded here in a city in Wisconsin, in a city called Ripon. Okay. And it was one of the northernmost outposts for the Underground Railroad. And we had members of the Whig Party at the time who were saying, oh no, slavery's bad, and we need to, break away from this idea of enslavement of people. So that's how, and I'm just giving you, the condensed version. And that's how the Republican Party was formed, from those members who dissented from the Whig Party, and they started the Republican Party in order to promote freedom and equality for all Americans, not, or all people here at the time, because even though we weren't technically Americans, because we were still property at the time and not considered whole citizens. But we fast forward to like the 60s. Okay, the majority of black people were Republican. All right, but the Democrats were the ones that were KKK members. They were pushing for segregation and things like that. And then here comes JFK. JFK threw a whole monkey wrench in the thing, and now we've got this white dude who's saying no, who's a Democrat now, saying no, this is wrong, and then JFK becomes like the black savior. Like before people jumped on Clinton's dick, they were all on JFK's dick. Like you couldn't say anything bad about JFK around certain people's grandparents. My grandfather, one of them, he had a picture of him in the basement above his pool table. You know what I mean? And I get it, because he's the first white person that openly spoke out against segregation and discrimination and said, no, we as Americans have to move on. But that is where the paradigm shifted pretty much, as far as the change in political parties. Okay. But that didn't mean the party overall changed. That was one person. So we still have this party who is highly, highly dependent on making us dependent on them, pushing whatever agenda that they have, and we just blindly support because that's what we've been taught to do. That's what has happened ever since then. And there was there were little things that happened prior to that, but I don't know how we combat it. But that's why I'm asking people to come and join me here in Milwaukee in 2020 in July at the Democratic National Convention. I don't want to try to change anybody's mind politically. You have the right to do what you want to do as an American citizen. That's not my job to tell you who you should be and what makes you you. You have to do what's best for your family as far as you can understand it. But what I do want you to do is hold the people that you're going to elect accountable for their actions, because people sometimes forget, and we rely on government way too fucking much, way too much. But these are our elected representatives. That's it. Even the president, okay, he's the commander in chief, but he is an elected representative. He is supposed to be of and about the people and for the people, and not push any personal agenda, and that's what I want people to understand. I want people to understand you have to hold the people accountable that you're voting for, because while you're voting for it one way and they're trying to shit on your rights over here, then something happens, you can't protect your family, and it's like, oh, well, you voted for them, what do you do? So you have to understand the intricacies of politics in order to be complete, I think. And I think education is what we really need, just to educate people on what things are. And that's why I'm inviting people to come here, and we're going to put boots on the ground here at the Democratic National Convention. Free gun control, free gun safety lessons, free just question and answer sessions are out on the street. We're going to go into different businesses and do things, because there are going to be a ton of people here. But every Democrat isn't anti-gun. A lot of my friends are in the organization liberal gun owners. You know what I mean? Like I don't agree with them politically, but we agree that the Second Amendment is important. And let's also mention that the difference between being pro-gun and pro-Second Amendment. And most people don't understand that. It's fine to have guns for hunting and self-protection, even, because self-protection got applied to the Second Amendment here recently. It's relatively new, and sports shooting and whatever else. But the purpose of the Second Amendment is not about any of that. That's to protect us, the citizens, from our government, who could become tyrannical at any moment, and which it looks like it's happening. I mean, I don't know if you can see the shirt. Can you see that shirt back there, or do I need to move it?
Yeah, I gotta move it up a little closer.
Oh shit! Hold on, my VTAC target.
There you
go. You know what I mean? We don't negotiate with tyrants. We don't like at some point you have to draw the line. You have to draw the line and say no more, because now I don't give a shit what happens to me. I'll fight this fight. I'll die for this, but I'm doing so not to become a martyr. I'm not doing this because I want to be popular or my name to live on in infamy. No, I'm doing this because I have 3 children that I will blow the world up for, and that means if I have to fight the government to make sure that their future is secured and safe, and that they can continue to be safe and protect themselves, I'll do that, So I'm just trying to save 3 kids. It's kind of like, what movie was that? Where he's like, I'm just trying to save 1 person. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, yeah, so that's it, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to, talk about the tyrannical government part of it. And it seems like recently there's a great job from the left side of the political aisle to kind of demonize the Second Amendment and what the typical gun owner has traditionally looked like, right? It looks like an old white guy, what I'm going to look like in 2 years, right? That's who the Second Amendment is for. That's the PR campaign that the anti-gun crowd is running. But if you look at it historically, gun control has been used to oppress minorities over and over and over in this country. And some folks on the anti-gun side When we talk about, the discussion comes up, well, the Second Amendment isn't going to protect yourself against the government. And the government will never become, tyrannical. But on the same side of the coin, we can see agents of the government acting indiscriminately and shooting and murdering unarmed minorities in this country, right? And if that is to be believed as fact, right? If we look at the Philando Castile case, right? That's the definition of a tyrannical government, when its actors and its agents can, without recourse, murder its own citizens, right? So on one hand, we have this discussion that the government won't become tyrannical, but we also have the argument, the discussion that it already is. Can you speak on that a little bit and how?
Yeah, I absolutely can. Like, what's funny was I just had this conversation right before we got on here. I was on the phone with KD, as a matter of fact, and I have a cool shirt that I'm bringing out for around time of NRA. I won't even tell you what it is because I don't want somebody to steal it. Like, it's fucking ridiculously cool. But anyway, you look at Philando Castile, who was a good dude. He worked at a school, had a good job. He was going to get married. His child was in the car. He was legally armed. He was pulled over by a cop who was a bitch, and he didn't do anything. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't presenting as a threat. He even said, I'm legal. He informed the police officer, I'm armed legally. And the cop says, and you hear, if you watch the video, the cop says, well, give me your information. And he says, okay. He says, but don't reach for the gun. And he says, I don't have to. You can hear it. He says, I don't have to reach for my gun to give you my wallet. That's what he was saying, And as soon as he reached for his wallet, the cop opens fire and murders this man in front of his child, And that's not the first time this has happened. That's the first time it's been made public and made such a big stink of it. And then you fast forward, you look at what just happened to Tatiana Jefferson in Texas. She's in her own home. Okay, the neighbor calls the police because the front door was open. She forgot to close the door, whatever. Okay, that shit happens. The officer, because he's responding on a wellness check in a black neighborhood, automatically turns up his alert level to high. On a wellness check, the first thing you do is walk up to the door and ring the fucking doorbell. That's what you do. It's a wellness check. And I understand that you have to be cautious. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are dangers lurking around every corner when you're a law enforcement officer. I'm not taking away from that at all. Okay. However, this is a wellness check. Hello, ring the doorbell, announce yourself, make it known that you're on property. Okay. She had every right to be armed legally in her home. And guess what? If I hear somebody rumbling and rustling outside of my home, and they haven't identified themselves, and I see a flashlight in the dead of night, I'm going to arm myself as well. And that's what she did. And she armed herself legally and rightfully so. This man saw the gun through the window and killed her, murdered her, because, and you can't tell me, no one can tell me or convince me that this would have played out the same way in a different neighborhood, So, what is going to happen with that? I don't know, but we definitely are seeing some acts that are indeed tyrannical, like you said, from smaller agents of the government. But it goes to, look at what's going on in Virginia now. Look at what's going on in Georgia, in Washington State. These things are ridiculous, and it starts here. And the next thing you know, there are no guns. And now we got people getting smashed and run over by our own government. Look at what's going on in Venezuela. Look at what happened in Poland. Look at what happened in Germany. Look at what happened, in so many different places around the world where guns were taken from the citizenry. And then shortly thereafter, here we go with dead citizens, because we're trying to push and promote an agenda. So it can definitely happen here.
If we look at the stop and frisk laws in New York,
motherfucking Bloomberg. Oh my God.
Right. The stop and frisk laws and those, that was for protection, right? To make the street safer. But if you look at how those laws were enforced, statistically impossible that the amount of minorities that were stopped and frisked compared to, to folks that look like me, it's just statistically impossible. And for people to sit here and think that the next gun control measure will not disproportionately negatively affect the black community, that's just ignorant. You can't have, we can't have it both ways, where the government is meant to protect us completely without question or regard for our own safety. And on the same hand, it's the government that's the largest actor of this. And it's not all bad. I don't want to sit here and be completely anti-government, but at some point we have to realize that gun control is for power of the government.
It's a power grab. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-big government. I definitely believe that we have to have a system of checks and balances in order to efficiently and effectively run this country. Okay. Hands down. There's no doubt about it. However, the government does not have the right, and we have forgotten this, to come into our everyday lives and run that. And that's what they're doing right now. Like you mentioned before, all gun control is racist. Okay. I don't know if you've seen those shirts, but there was no gun control on the books before freed slaves. There was no gun control on the books before the slave codes. Okay. And that's period. That's fact. That's history. That's not me saying it. It's not conjecture. That's me telling you historical facts.
Yeah, if I remember right, real quick to jump in, Aaargo, when the slaves were freed, that was the first gun control law, right? That black people still couldn't own firearms.
Well, here's the thing. What we have to realize is when you look at history, even before we look at the Dutch West Indian Trading Company. Okay, one of the biggest importers of slaves, in the beginning times ever. All right. But prior to slavery, black people would come here and they would be free. They were legitimate indentured servants. Okay. They were working for a wage or for land or for whatever. And they could vote. They could commune with everybody. They could they went to the same bars, the same pubs, the same churches. They could even legally seek reparations for, lost wages. They sued. There were so many freed black people, I say freed, but free black people that sued the Dutch West Indian Trading Company because they were owed wages and won their cases. Okay. But somewhere along the line, somebody said, you know what, why are we paying these people? They're not even really people. And that idea, began to fester and grow. And then the freedom started to be more and more restricted. And then we come up with the slave code. The slave codes forbade any freed black man from owning firearms. And that was to set up because the blacks at the time were the Angolans were still fighting for their freedom. And they were going to court at this time, getting their freedom. And there was a fear that these men would retaliate against the people who were trying to do them bad. And that's when those laws came into place. All right. And then we fast forward again to today, same shit. You look at California. We look at the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party were legal citizens without criminal record. Okay. They marched on the Capitol in California, in Sacramento, legally so. Okay, they took their legal weapons with them, and they weren't trying to cause problems. They weren't trying to stir up anything. It wasn't black over white. It was they wanted black to be equal to white. You know what I mean? And they wanted equal treatment and fair treatment in their neighborhoods. You look a couple of weeks later, what do we have? We have the Mulford Act, and it just spirals from there. You look at Chicago, you look at New York, you look at all the places where the strictest gun control laws are. They always have been, and they always will be because of people who look like me, and they just happen to affect people that look like you guys and everybody else who's now an American citizen. So gun control at its inception and at its roots is racist. And that's just a hard fact that we have to swallow.
We have a question from Glenn. He wants to know what your thoughts are on red flag laws that seem to be popular with politicians over the last couple of years.
I recently had a meeting with my state senator Ron Johnson, who's actually the head of Homeland Security also. How he accepted a meeting with me, I was floored. But anyway, he did. We were set to talk for 30 minutes, and we talked for 2.5 hours. In that meeting, we discussed red flag laws. I think red flag laws, first of all, let's back up. Red flag laws have been on the books for a long time. They just weren't called that. Let's be real. Okay. They just didn't have a moniker to identify them. All right. But they've been on the books for a long time. But the red flag laws as proposed now are very, very dangerous. They are so dangerous, in fact, that I can't believe that nobody sees this who's in support of them. They're so dangerous for so many reasons. You cannot violate a person's civil rights, because gun rights are civil rights, first and foremost. You cannot violate a person's civil rights without due process. Red flag laws eliminate due process. Period. That's the end of the story. Once you eliminate due process, it is wrong, it is tyrannical, and it is illegal. But they are still pushing for these laws because they found workarounds to try to make them seem appealing. But when in reality, you're putting the life of the agents that are going to come and enforce that law, the people who are being enforced upon, like, you're putting their lives in jeopardy. Like, a police officer, and we've already seen it play out. We've seen it play out in Maryland. We've seen it play out in Florida. We've seen it play out in Philadelphia. And every time it's ended in violence. Every time. It's not a good thing. Red flag laws are horrible. So I suggest that everybody goes and articulately speak to your representatives. Be passionate, but be polite and respectful. Speak to your representatives, write letters, send emails, make phone calls. These things are going to get Americans killed. These things are going to harm more Americans than they can ever help. Now here's the flip side of that, because I have to be honest and I have to be real. Do I see certain instances where the removal of firearms from a home could be a good thing? Certain situations, yes. Okay, I have to be honest. But am I for red flag laws? No, I'm not for red flag laws. But I don't agree with removal without proof. And that proof has to come from somebody who is credited or accredited and can actually validate the reasoning for the removal. Not just because, a scorned lover says, hey, I don't want this dude to have guns. I don't want this chick to have guns. We need to have an adjudicator come in and say, okay, this is XYZ, these firearms or weapons, because now the focus is just on firearms. But get this. This is a damn box cutter. So you're going to remove all the firearms from the house, but leave me with this? Like, come on now. That's asinine. I could hurt somebody with a screwdriver. I could hurt somebody with a book, a hammer, common everyday things, a kitchen knife, a fork. So unless you're willing, a vehicle, my hands, unless you are willing to, under the guise of red flag laws, unless you are willing to remove everything from the home, then it's bullshit. And that's just period. Like, it's bullshit. Like, there's so many ways to hurt somebody, but people are so hyper focused on the gun, because they're trying to push whatever personal agendas they have or whatever ignorant agendas they have, that they lose sight of what's actually real. They lose sight of reality. So,
yeah, I think if you're a legitimate enough threat for the government to come in and remove your weapons, doesn't that say that you probably shouldn't be walking around amongst the rest of us? Like, if you can't be trusted with a firearm, why are you still then allowed to be free? Right? We had Carrie Sloan on last weekend, and she was talking about a case out of, I believe it was Texas, where a woman red flagged her estranged husband. Right? Where they came in, they did what they're supposed to do. They removed his firearms, and she was dead. Right? He still was able to obtain a firearm and kill her. Right. And at some level, at some point, I question whether or not the fact that he was red flagged, as we should call it, right, provided some false sense of security, right, that the government has done their job to protect us and I'm good.
ever since ever since 9/11, there has been this thing that I call, a lot of people call, the theater of security. We want to look like we're doing something to secure things. TSA, fucking joke. Red flag laws, fucking joke. Like, if people want to do bad shit, people are going to find a way to do bad shit. And you'll never be able to stop that. You'll never be able to legislate intent. Can't happen. It can't happen. The three of us are sitting here right now. If I snap out right now and my intentions are evil and I decide to take this table leg and beat somebody's fucking head in, you don't know, no law is going to stop that from happening. No law. There's no law on the books that will ever stop intent. You don't know what a person's intent is. You don't know what's in a person's heart or what their capabilities are. So we need to stop focusing on these smoke screen laws, because that's what it is. That's what they are. They're just blowing smoke up our asses. Like, we need to stop focusing on these pieces of legislation and focus on the people. But how do we get back to actually protecting the people? Well, let's start by educating the people. Let's start by sharing the wealth of knowledge, the truth, with these people. Let's put the information in areas that has not received the information as much as other areas. That's why I love what my brother Maj Toure is doing. I was just on the phone with Maj earlier today. Like, for those of you that don't know Maj Toure runs an organization called Black Guns Matter. Has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter, although he did kind of copy their slogan intentionally so, because I absolutely agreed with and agree with what Black Lives Matter was in its inception, not what it was turned into. Okay. And yes, it's all lives matter, but we have to be honest. Like, all of a sudden we have to be honest and say, I mean, we like to hide things and hide the truth and say, well, all lives matter. Yes, but all lives aren't being affected the way that Black and brown lives are being affected, like, and more so Black. But, it is affecting everybody. But it is turned, I believe it's a paid, token organization at this point. But anyway, this organization, Black Guns Matter, takes firearms safety education, conflict resolution, conflict de-escalation, the restoration of rights, and things like this into communities that don't receive that information. I mean, this dude took a firearms training class into a Philadelphia city public school. What? Come on now. Like I'm so floored by that still. And that happened 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, and the administration loved it because the guns are here. I don't care if your dad's a doctor. I don't care if your dad's a drug dealer. The guns are here. Okay. But why not have everybody have that same bank of knowledge that will help keep us safe? Okay. So now that this drug dealer's kid says, oh, dad left this gun on the table, but I know not to touch it. And if I have to touch it, I know how to properly handle it in a safe manner. Okay. Muzzle down, never flagging anybody, finger off the trigger, outside the trigger guard. Okay. Now I know this. But before, I would just pick it up. I might even turn it around and look down the barrel. You know what I mean? So, and I think education is, and that's why you see the disparities in education. Now, I'm a teacher and I know this shit. You see the disparity in education because my school right now is an inner city school. We don't have the same resources that other schools have in our same district. Okay, same district. Why don't we all have the same resources? That doesn't make sense to me. Why are our test scores so low? That doesn't make sense. I'm doing my job, but I can only do my job so far because I need the backing of my administration. I need the resources in order to educate. Same thing with the community. We have to educate the community. We have to put forth, give them a tool base that they can use from in their everyday lives. So I think that's how we conquer that, is to make sure that we pass education along, and we need to do so, freely and not be stingy with it. We have to give it out. We have to make it sure everybody understands what's really going on.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, you mentioned Maj Toure and Black Guns Matter. I have a Black Guns Matter shirt, and I just wanted to share this. So I was wearing my Black Guns Matter shirt. Me and my wife were walking into the store. As I'm walking in, there's a black lady walking out. And she looked at me and she looked down at my shirt and her eyes got really big and she just shook her head and put her head down and walked off. And I was like, man, I wish there was a way that I could be like, excuse me, ma'am, like, why don't you go Google Black Guns Matter and see what it's about. But I don't know if it would have changed anything, but
her mind was made up.
What's that?
Her mind was already made up when she looked at your shirt and shook her head. You know, same thing happens when I wear my Black Guns Matter shirt. I wore it to a gun show. This white dude looked at my shirt and said, "How dare you wear that here?" I said, "How dare me? I'm doing it right here in your face. What's the problem?" Yeah. Like, if you want to find out about it, why don't you ask me about it instead of judging me? Because what you're thinking is that it had something to do with Black Lives Matter. And I'm saying that, this, whatever bullshit he was on. And then once I broke it down to him, he kind of had egg on his face, and he admittedly so said that, oh, he fucked up, we have to be honest about things. And for some reason, it's very hard for the American citizenry these days to be honest about things and open and objective about things. So.
Yeah, I agree. So Aaargo, we have a couple people that have been joining the chat a little bit late, and what we're talking about here is your documentary. We kind of went down a rabbit hole, and I think it's all good education, and this is what we need. All this information you're sharing with us, man. I'm just learning a ton of stuff. But let me ask you a dumb question or a quick question. If you could break it down on your documentary, if you were going to give me like a bio in the beginning of what this documentary is about, kind of start to finish. Give me an example so people that have jumped on, they know exactly what we're talking about.
Absolutely. So the documentary is called Black Ops, the documentary, and OPS is an acronym. It stands for Black Opinion in Popular Society. It's the way that society portrays and thinks about Black Americans, specifically Black males, when it comes to firearms. The documentary was written to shift the perception and to change the imagery and the negative associations and connotations of Black Americans and firearms. We're not all criminals, thugs, and gangbangers. We are a productive part of the American citizenry, and that needs to be highlighted more so than a lot of the media highlighting the opposite of that. So that's pretty much what the documentary is about in a nutshell.
Nice. So how far along are you on the documentary, and when do we expect to see it?
That's the problem. When I first wrote the treatment, I reached out to some Hollywood people and they were all over it, right? Because I'm thinking movie, Hollywood, documentary people, let's take it there. And they were all over it. They were all over it. I don't know if you guys know who John Ridley is, but John Ridley was the guy from who did Red Tails, 12 Years a Slave, things like that. He's actually from my city. And I was in touch with his publicist, and she was like, "It's a great idea." And then when I shopped it out, people thought it was a great idea, but they wanted to shift it and have certain narratives play out more so than other narratives. And I said, no, that can't happen, because we will lose the point of the documentary. And the point is to shift that paradigm and shift that imagery. So I decided to make this a crowdfunded thing. Funding this documentary has been the hardest thing I have ever done. I've had the GoFundMe up for about 3 years out of the 4 years after I wrote it, and I've raised about $1,800 of the $25,000 GoFundMe goal. That's my fault, though. That's my fault because I don't push it. I have a problem asking people for money, asking people for help. I don't like doing it, but I'm getting off my fucking high horse and I'm about to start doing it. Because this documentary has to be about the people, from the people, for the people. It has to, otherwise it won't be real. It won't be honest. It won't tell those hardcore, honest events and facts that need to be told. Because when it's all said and done, it's not just about Black people. Because I think every group that's non-white or traditionally a non-white male when it comes to guns is affected. So I could write, I could go on and make it a docu-series. I could do Latinos, I could do Hispanics, I could do women, I could do the LGBTQ community. You know what I mean? All these groups are affected by the perception of them in firearms, for whatever it is. All the reasons differ, but we're all affected here as American citizens. But that has been the hardest thing, is to fund this documentary. So I started out doing it with my regular cameras that I used when I was doing my YouTube videos. And that's fine and dandy if I want to do a YouTube video. But I think this documentary needs to be a grander production, only because it deserves it. Because I think it's so powerful and so poignant that it deserves to be produced properly, like a documentary should. So that's what the hesitation, that's what the delay is in it. So a lot of the footage and a lot of the things that I had already, I still have, and I'll use as B-roll or extra footage, but it doesn't tell the story the way it needs to be told. So that's where that's where it is now. So, and the delay has allowed some different things to happen, like Philando Castile, like a Tatiana Jefferson. I'm glad I didn't get it done before, because I wouldn't have been able to include those things in the documentary, because they are specifically relative to the reason the documentary was even made. So,
yeah, Shanine Allen, that's another good one.
Oh my God. And I love her. I love Shanine. I don't know if you've ever spoken with her. She's a good apple, just a good girl, good woman.
Yeah,
excuse me.
we never have. But we'd love to have her on the show. So if you want to throw something in her ear, we don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Aaargo, you're working on trying to fund this thing further, right? And you know what? We get it. Jeremy and we've talked about sponsorships and stuff, and man, it's so over there and ask and try to get stuff like that, even for something as small as a sponsorship. So I can't even imagine trying to do something the size at what you're doing, and keep at it, man. Don't give up.
Oh,
and then now for me, I just, as soon as light bulb went in my head, I'm like, Aaargo, instead of doing Black Ops documentary, you need Black Ops docu-series. Now we're starting the black people moving into LGBTQ, do a documentary on that. Man, dude, you could make this thing huge if that's
the plan. That's the plan. So yeah, and I saw that too after, because the evolution of the documentary was great. So I want to put out the first one, and then I want to do volumes after that. And after that, I'll do the different volumes. I have some great people in all these communities that want to do this, and the title still fits, because black could mean like black sheep. You know what I mean? It could be that kind of thing, instead of black as in the color of my skin. So, and I don't use the term African American. I hate that term. I absolutely despise that term. So you'll never really hear me say it unless I know that, and unless it slips, honestly, and it still slips. But I hate that term, so I try not to use it. I try to say Black American, because for so long we have been sans identity as American citizens. We went from nigger to Negro to colored to black to Afro-American to African American. You know what I mean? Like there has no other culture has that problem. None.
Yeah.
None. Why? I'm a Black American, and that's fucking it. I was in a class when I was in Glencoe, Georgia, at the federal law enforcement training facility, and I was sitting next to this white dude from Morocco. Okay, and he was an American citizen. And I just happened to look over at this exact moment, and I think everything happens for a reason. I happened to look over at this exact moment as he is filling out his paperwork, and he checked the African American box, and I was like, "What? Is he confused?" But then it clicked in my head. Oh shit, he's legitimately an African American. You know what I mean? And from that day on, I was done with that word. I was done with it, and I just have been saying Black American. Primarily just American, but if we have to put a description on it, then I'll put black in front of it.
Yeah, one of my best friends, he's also an instructor with us on occasion. His name is Jose, and he's from Mexico. Just got he had his permanent residency for a long time. Got a citizenship here. I think it's probably a year, maybe even 2 years now. It just, when you get old, shit goes too fast. But we've talked about this a lot too. That he as a Mexican. And he's trying to bring the Mexican community into firearms too. And a lot of that's a little bit different because it's a language barrier, right? And there's a lot of intimidation. And that when we first started getting into guns, because he's also my coworker, he was really intimidated, and I took him to, I was like, hey, let's go to our annual meeting in Dallas, man. And he's like, I don't know, dude. There's just going to be a bunch of like white people that are going to look at me funny. And, what's it going to be like? And I said, man, you're going to have a good time. Trust me. This is my first time too, but man, we have tons of friends that are going. Like, don't even worry about it. Who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares? And so now he's moved into firearms instruction. And then, the other day he asked me to borrow some blue guns because he wanted to teach some friends of his. And it's kind of like a Spanish only class. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, let me know. Let me know how I can help you. Let me know what I can do.
Yeah, man.
So, and all at the end, man, and the way I see it is, black, white, brown, whatever, all at the end, it's about not losing these rights. It's about being able to fight for our country. And like we were talking about in the beginning of the show and the pre-show, this stuff ain't going to affect us right away. It's our kids, it's our grandkids, our great grandkids. When we're grandkids down the road, man, what's going to be left? If we ain't doing some shit now, then we might as well just hang it up. Like, this country's done.
Scary thought. That's a scary thought.
Scares the shit out.
It does. I think about this probably more than I should. You know what I mean? And it's funny that you said it, because now I don't feel so bad. Because I thought I was obsessing over something that, but it frightens me. I have conversations with my father, who's 81. He's very liberal, but even he understands that the Second Amendment and what it's actually for is important now, because he sees what's going on in our country, and we had this conversation the other day. He doesn't know who the hell he's going to vote for because he doesn't trust anybody on the Democratic Party side. Like, he doesn't trust any of them. He's waiting on this super candidate to come out to kill the Warrens and to kill the Bidens and the Bloombergs and all that. And I say kill by politically, not really, not literally. Just before anybody says something. Sorry, Secret Service. But anyway, you know what I mean? But it's becoming more and more evident. And my father's an old dude who's stuck in his ways. You hear me? And the fact that we were having this conversation floored me, that he doesn't trust any of them. He doesn't trust. And he said to me, he's always supported me no matter what I've done. And he says, I see why you're doing what you're doing. I see why you're pushing so hard, because if they can get rid of one, they can get rid of them all. Talking about the amendments. You know what I mean? So what's to say that further on down the line, a group of people doesn't get together and say that Black people shouldn't have rights anymore, based on whatever facts or bullshit that they come up with. And they get rid of, and now all of a sudden we're not going to be back in slavery, but we're sans rights. We're without our rights. Come on. Or women shouldn't have the right to vote because they're too emotional. Like, that kind of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like we have to protect the and then it's crazy. Like, whether you're a Trump fan or you're not a Trump fan, it shouldn't matter. People always ask me, because I'm conservative and because, I'm pro-gun and pro-Second Amendment, you must be a Trump, you must be a Trump supporter. I support the office of president regardless of who's seated at that table. Okay. Whoever sits behind the resolute desk, I'm always critical of. Always critical, whether they're Republican, whether they're Democrat. But I will always support the office of commander-in-chief, period. I may not agree, but I support, okay? So, it doesn't matter who it is. But the fact of the matter is that we have a two-party system that has forgotten that they're about the people. And we have lost that fact. And that is the scary fact. That is the scary fact. It's supposed to be for the people and about the people and of the people, right? But we look at some of the pollings that take place. Have either of you ever been interviewed in a poll about gun control? And then people get on television and say, well, most Americans want this. Such and such percent of Americans say that they're for this. Come on. It's just ludicrous, the kind of nonsense that people are feeding to people, and people are believing it and they're buying it. We've become so dependent as a culture, our national culture, on government. And, tell me what to do now. What should I do with this? What should I do with that? Where do I go? How do I vote? How do I think? Like, are you serious? Think for yourself. Like, the information is all around you. The The internet makes information almost a drug. Like you can OD on information if you want to. Like do the research, find out what the hell's going on. Make a choice based on your needs, the needs of your family, and the needs of facts and data versus emotion. You know what I mean? Like so much has been done because people are emotional now. You know, nobody wants to see schools getting shot up. No one. I don't know a single gun owner or a single 2A activist, a single pro-gun person that wants to see a child get hurt. I haven't. And you know, we all want the same things, but we just want to go about it a different way. And I just think that our eyes are open more now than everybody else's. We see things for mostly what they are. We see things holistically. I can see both sides. However, I understand that there are certain things that aren't going to change, and we need firearms, and that's a fact. That's just a fact. So it's a slippery slope that we're going on as a country right now, brother.
Yeah, and if we were to talk about, the Second Amendment and its importance, one of the things that often gets brought up is, gun registration. What's the harm in having a gun registration? And I'd say, well, what's the harm in having a registration based on religion, right? And they were like, nah, really nothing. And I was like, yeah, under Obama, nothing. But what's one of the things Trump said? Oh, deport all the Muslims, right? We were going to get rid of all the Muslims. How so? And it's not that far gone. We're talking about, realistically, I think gun control, we'll see. It'll be my grandkids that see the extreme version of gun control if things don't change, right? And it's their children that are going to have to lay in that bed, and that's the extreme tyrannical stuff, right? Not talking about if the further infringements on our right to keep and bear arms. That's going to. We'll see the immediate effects in that, right? Not being able to defend ourselves against the violent criminal actors out there, making it more difficult to have the tools on us when we need them the most. But it's one of those things where it's difficult for me to see how people can remain so naive to the fact of gun control.
Naivete is it's safety. It's that theater of security. You know what I mean? When you know the truth, I guarantee you, the three of us right now, like we just said, we're scared. The people watching this are afraid. But when you're naive, that fear isn't there. You know what I mean? When you don't know, there's nothing to be afraid of. So people would much rather be comfortable than informed. People would much rather have this guise of safety than actually being safe. So. Yeah, take the guns away. That's going to keep me safe. But then when the meth head comes trying to break through my window with a machete, now I can't, what am I going to do? Run in the kitchen, get my knife, get my steak knife? You know what I mean? What do you do? So it's that guise of safety, that theater of security that people want to settle for because it's easier than dealing with the cold, hard truth.
Yeah, it's easy, right? That's the easy solution, right? People talk about how are we going to stop somebody from walking into a kindergarten class and shooting up a school? The easy answer is gun control. The hard truth is nothing. There's nothing we can do. There's no words on paper that's going to stop that person from carrying out their act of evil. Nothing.
No, but me, I'm a teacher, if I'm there and I have my gun, guess what? I did a video on this. I'm there every day. If we have the best interest of the children in our hearts as educators, why not be the ones that keep them safe holistically? Because it's like, I'm there. I am there. So if something goes down and I have my firearm and I'm properly trained, which I am, but many people aren't, I have a better chance of stopping a shooter than placing a call to 911. And that's just what it is. Because I will shoot a motherfucker in the face for trying to mess with anybody's child. Period. It doesn't matter if it's mine, yours, or his, or hers, or whose ever. I don't care what religion they are. I don't care if the kid is gay or straight or trans. I don't care if the kid has 3 fucking legs and walks like a fucking duck. Like, I'm going to shoot a motherfucker in the face for trying to harm our future. Period. Like, and that's just how it goes. Like, and I will have no regrets. I will sleep soundly at night. I'll probably get I don't sleep as it is much. I'll probably sleep the most sound sleep that I will sleep ever after something like that. You know, and not because I want to kill somebody, but because there are people who are actively trying to hurt other people. Evil is real. Evil has no boundaries. It doesn't just affect Black people or white people, or Hispanic people or Latinos or Asian people. It affects everybody. You know, it affects everybody. So why not give everybody the ability to combat evil? I'm a Christian. I wear a cross every day. I'm Catholic, right? And people say all the time, how can you like guns and wear this cross? How can that be? My friend KD, when we were here for the NRA Carry Guard, said something that I will never forget, and it stays with me. It will stay with me, and I pass it on. He says, I carry a gun every day in case I have to deal with those people who refuse to listen to God's voice. Okay?
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it hit me hard, because like, if you believe in God, then you have to believe in the devil. You have to believe that evil is real. Okay. I don't care if you don't believe in God. If you don't believe in God, that's fine. You still know that evil is real. Okay. People will do bad things. People will find any means to do those bad things. So why not give the people a way to protect themselves and their families and the things they work so hard to get? Not cars and material things, but safety, security of home, security of wealth. You know, I love that my son can go in this kitchen and open the refrigerator anytime he wants and eat anything he wants to. I love that fact. But you know what I love more? I love that there are guns protecting that, so he doesn't have to worry when he's making a sandwich that somebody will come in and do him harm because daddy can't protect him. Not going to happen. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you ever hear me say I love guns like I love food, that's what that means. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no, and it's real. Like, you know, we were just talking about our daughters. My daughter is 23 years old, man. Like, there's some shitty people out here who will snatch her up in a heartbeat. Yep. But guess what? If she's got her Glock 19 on her, it's a little bit harder for them to snatch her up. It's a little bit harder for the dude to try to rape her if she's got a muzzle in his mouth. You know what I mean? Sure. And I know we sound violent, but you know, it's real. Like, would you rather have this woman, my daughter, this child, who still in my mind is a little fat baby, you know, get raped and hurt and beaten, rather than get that piece of shit off the face of the earth so he can't do it to anybody else? Because if he does it to her, I guarantee he's going to do it to somebody else, or already has. So come on now. We have to stop being so damn marshmallow here in this country, man. We have the pussification of America is in full effect. It is. It is. You know, participation trophies and all kind of bullshit. And this, you know, there's a winner, there's a loser. You lose, learn from it, win next time. You don't win next time, learn from that, win again. You know what I mean?
Something else to do.
Or find something else to do. You know what I mean? But if you, like, we're going to take L's. Look at Jordan. Look how many L's he took before he became the greatest. You know, so like, learn from it. Don't cry about it. Well, don't get me wrong, because I cried too. But guess what? I cried, and then I kept moving, though. I kept pushing forward, and I learned from why I lost and what caused me to not get the outcome that I wanted. And then I changed that. You know, and we, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but like we've become so dependent on everybody else to feed us the things that we want just because we want them. You know what I mean? Without having to work for them, without having to earn it. Like, that's become a problem for me. You know, like, I see it every day in the school. I see it on the streets. I see it in the news. I see it in politics. I see it in the gun community. You know, I see it everywhere. And that's not how that's not how this country was founded. You work hard, you bust your ass, you get rewarded for the hard work that you do. That's it. And that's it.
If Jordan didn't get cut and take all those L's, nobody would know who he is.
No
right?
one.
If you got to play on the team, you got the participation trophies, we're not talking about Jordan, right? That's the simple fact of it, right? Losses and adversity create winners. That's what it is. Like, and it's one of those.
There's no Kobe's, there's no LeBrons behind that, because these guys emulated Mike. So You know, so now we're affecting the future generations because we have no one for them to look up to and aspire to be like, you know. So, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I apologize, but
No, you're good.
you were absolutely right. So
That's what the government wants then, because then you don't have any winners. You just have a bunch of dependent people, right? And is it in the art of war, they to control the country or to control your citizens, you have to keep them divided and dependent.
yep.
And look where we're going right now,
Yep.
right? Nobody wants to work for what they got. They want the government to keep them safe. They want the government to give them a paycheck. They want the government to give them health care, all this other stuff. And they want to be protected from the bad feelings. And it's like, man, that's been tried before and it doesn't work, right? You have to work for your own. And what kind of soft children are you going to raise if that's the mentality that you have, right? And I think we're in a pretty good place as a country, right? And these good times they're breeding soft men, and that's one of the things that's scary. Is it's, you know, with all this prosperity and all how as good as things are, what's it look like for our grandchildren and our kids? And as a parent, it's scary, right? I don't want my son to experience the pain of loss, but I know what that's going to do for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know what that's going to do for him. And it's like one of those things. It's like, as a parent, people ask you, do you want your kid to be the bully or do you want him to be bullied? And I'm like, man, that's tough. Because as somebody who loves my son, I don't want him to feel the pain of being bullied, right? I felt that. I don't want him to feel the pain of that. But I also don't want him to be the person that's going to take the advantage of somebody, right? I want my son to be the kid that punches the bully in the face.
Absolutely, and that's how we raise our kids. But somehow we're wrong. You know, that's the war on the toxic masculinity, because, like you said, we're raising these soft men. You know, and we're breeding soft boys who are going to be soft men, and we're going to breed women that accept these soft men and create more soft men. You know what I mean? And then what do? It's like my son. My son is 7. He's been playing baseball since he was 2, knocking it over my head. My son is a phenom. He's a true 7-year-old, you know, whatever. But when he gets on that baseball field, it's a different story. My son plays with kids in middle school and up at 7. Like, he's in the high school batting cages. He's been in the high school batting cages since he was 5. You know, like, that's how advanced and how good he is and how serious he is. My son took a line drive to the eye. If you look on my IG, you'll see it. My son took a line drive to the eye. His eye swelled up instantly. He cried. He hit the ground like he should. It took everything in me not to run on the field at camp that day and coddle him. But I didn't. The coaches ran out there. My son says, he puts his hand up to the coach. He goes, no. He's still crying, though, you know, and he stops crying. He wipes his tears. He rubs his eyes. He kind of shakes it off. Coach says, come on out. Come sit out. He said, no. He finished the fucking game. You know what I'm saying? 7. You know what I mean? I've been teaching him how to be tough and independent and all that, but he did that on his own because he knew that finishing that game was more important than bitching about a little a ball to the eye, and that shit's gonna happen all the time if that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? The potential for that to happen is high if you're playing baseball, period. And I was like, oh my God, look at this little fucking warrior. Like, and I was so proud, you know, and it's hard as a parent, like you said, to see our kids suffer. But, you know, I'd want my kid not to be the one that's bullied, but if he's bullied, that's fine. I want him to learn how to deal with it because I think it'll make him stronger. Okay. Because you got to come to that point in life where you say, okay, this person's picking on me. Now I can either bow down or I can find out how to knock his teeth down his throat, and then he'll never bother me again. And what we have to do right now is knock the government's teeth down their throats, you know, because they're bullying us right now. We're being bullied left and right. We're being bullied. And so many of us have said, okay, I'll do what you want. I'll bring my lunch money. You know what I mean? I'm not giving up my lunch money. I got to eat, bro. Like, I got to eat. You're not getting my lunch money. You're going to have to fucking fight me to get that shit. So, you know, and it's just, like I said, the pussification of America is real, man. It's not a fake. There's a war on masculinity. There's a war on strong women. You know, they don't want women to be strong either. How dare this woman shoot guns and speak up for herself and think for herself? My fucking daughter is a monster. Like, my girls shoot better than most guys I know, you know, and that's a taboo thing. That's a no thing. Like, I shouldn't teach my daughter how to carry a gun and how to act and how to shoot people in the face. Like, why not?
Yep.
I'm not with her all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I can't protect her. She's an adult now.
Yeah, we're talking about the violence and all that. Same thing with my daughter when she first got her driver's license. We had this whole conversation of you're growing up, you're getting older, you're getting prettier. Guys are loving. And I told her, I said, look, when I was 15, boy, let me tell you, I was not a good role model at 15, and that's what you're facing now. So we bought her this little thing that looked like a cat, right? It had two big pointy plastic.
Oh, the nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and we had sat down and had a conversation, and I said, you know what this is for, right? And she's like, yeah, I do. I'm to stop somebody from trying to hurt me. And I'm like, do you know how to use it? And she's like, well, yeah, I punch somebody. And I'm like, no, you punch somebody until you're covered in blood and that body stops moving. That's what you use that for.
Hell yeah.
She kind of looked at me and she smiled and she's like, okay, I get it. And I was like, good. I was like, understand that you can't just be that victim of like, okay, I'm going to punch them and they'll stop me and leave me alone. I want you to hurt them. And, other people that we've had that conversation with, you kind of see them like, oh, wow, like you really told your kid to do that?
Hell yeah. Hell, I told my son was in kindergarten. There was this boy that was pushing him down every day. And I teach my son to fight, and I teach him what fighting is about. But I also teach him that school is not the place to fight. That's not what that is, okay? But at this particular point where this boy is continuing to bully you and push you down, I said, look, and I said this in front of the principal, the administrator, the other administrators, the teacher. I said, James, if he does this again, you punch him in the fucking nose so hard that his nose explodes everywhere. And I guarantee you, he won't do it again. And sure as shit, a week later, the boy hit my son. My son turned around and smacked the fuck out of this boy. You hear me? Like, to the point where I was afraid that he hurt the boy, to the point, like, these are little kids now. It was like 5 years old. Like, I was afraid that he hurt this boy, like he damaged his cranium or or something. But the boy's nose was just so bloody and it bled for so long. But guess what? He stopped fucking with my son. Yep. So, and I told him, never get in trouble with me. You might get in trouble at school, but don't worry about that. That'll pass. Being in trouble with me is who you have to worry about. Like, you'll move on. I'll get you in another school. Fuck all that. Like, don't let anybody victimize you, period.
Yeah, you remember, I think it was Goodfellas, right? When the son asked the dad, hey, Dad, would you rather be respected or loved? And he said, respected. I think it was Goodfellas. And for me, now growing up too, same thing, bullied, poor, all that crap that we've talked about. Same thing for me, a little bit of both. Because same thing, that exact thing happened to me in 6th grade. I had this dude kept making fun of me and messing with me. Finally turned around, I socked him in the nose, his nose busted open. That was it. And then all of a sudden you go to school and everybody's like, hey, you beat up this guy? Yeah, I kicked his ass. It was one punch. You probably got lucky. You know what I mean?
That's an ass kicking when you're little, man. That's an ass kicking.
And from then on out, then you learn like, oh, shit. I know how to defend myself, and that ends. And and that's what we need for our kids. That's going down this kind of long rabbit hole that we've done. We need our kids to stop going down the road of the pussification of the society that we got right now, right?
Oh my God.
We got to get disciplined. We've got to teach them about God, and we got to teach them about self-defense and all this crap and that we're hearing these days in the media. Like, I hope it turns into it's a minority deal that people are only seeing that on media, but actually in your homes, it's actually completely opposite. To be like, man, don't listen to that crap because this is going to put us down the wrong road. And again, just to kind of rehash, 2-3 generations down the road, what's this country going to look like?
Absolutely.
So, Aaargo,
solving problems for people, right? That's what we need to stop trying to solve problems for other people and let people understand that problems exist in this world. Like bullies are needed, right? I had a conversation with my wife before, a year or two before my son started school, and we were talking about, public education here in Albuquerque and stuff. And one of the comments that I made to her, I was like, look, I want him to spend some time in public school because I want him to experience that, right? I think that's good for him to experience that side of the world, right? Because he has to know that exists, but he also has to know that he can deal with it, overcome it, and do what he needs to do to get through it, right?
Yep.
Because if you don't have that experience, the first real problem you get in life, you're going to be looking around for somebody to solve it for you, and you're not going to be able to solve it for yourself.
Nope.
And there's not going to be anybody that gives a shit about you, right? There's nobody.
Nope.
Like, once you get to a certain age, nobody cares about your problems, right? They're just going to talk shit about you. They're going to, you solve a problem, they're going to troll you on YouTube or whatever else, and act ignorant and interject their life experiences and act like they know what's best for you. It's one of those things where bad things happen in this world, and you have to be able to solve them yourself. And I think that's one of the things that our side understands, right? I think not our side, the educated and reasonable majority of our side, right? Not necessarily the outspoken ones, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the educated and reasonable folks on our side, they understand that, and that's what we want. Hey, it's not the government's job to stop the bad guy from kicking in my door at 2:00 in the morning. It's my job to be able to protect my family, right? I don't want the government to try and stop that guy. It's not going to happen. I don't want at the same time, keep yourself out of my business, and don't tell me that I can't have the tools that I need to defend myself and my family when you're not going to be there.
Absolutely. It's like, what do you do? I'm walking down the street. This dude pulls a gun on me, going to rob me, potentially kill me. Who knows? His finger's on the trigger. What am I supposed to do? Say, wait, stop. Let me call the police. Then you can rob me. Then you can finish robbing me. You know what I mean? Like, no, get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm going to shoot you in the face. Like, there's nothing else to it. Like, you're going to have 3 nose holes. Like, and that's just what it is. Like, you know, but, you know, and like I said, nobody wants that. Nobody wants, I don't want to shoot anybody ever. If the Lord himself came down and said, hey, Aaargo, you never have to carry a gun again. Everything will be safe from this day on. I would love that. But that is not the case. That is not going to happen. So until that happens, I will be armed. I will train my children to be armed. They will train their children to be armed. Because we have forgotten how, and you said it a minute ago, self-reliability is lost. Okay. And you look at the public school system. They've taken so much out of the public school system, like so many programs. They've taken music out of there. They've taken FIED out of most schools, or, you know, have decreased the amount of FIED kids get. They have taken home ec out all over holistically. So you're telling me we're no longer teaching kids how to manage and maintain as an adult? Like, they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to sew, they don't know how to clean, and we don't teach that anymore? Like, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm sorry, like, I have a problem with that shit. And people always, I catch a lot of flack because I'm a non-union educator, you know, because I believe the union does more harm than it does good. That's not to say that all unions are that way. That's just mine. You know, if there are other unions out there that do good, great. I don't know many, you know, but that's just my opinion. You know, you guys might be union members. I don't know, but you know, like, it's that depending on somebody else. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do my job every damn day. If I do something wrong and deserve to be fired, fucking fire me, you know, otherwise leave me the fuck alone. Let me do my job. You know, I can do my job. I am capable of doing my job. Okay. But I don't need somebody to protect me just in case something happens. No, if I do something that warrants me getting fired, I deserve it. I deserve it. You know, I have to eat that. You know what I mean? But for some reason, we, you know, like I said, we're pushing this pussyfied ass ideology on our citizens, and it's crazy.
Yeah. So Aaargo, we talked about shooting some people in the face, and in order to do that, we got to have some badass guns, right? So
we do have to have some badass guns.
Well, I hear you got a rifle that you're building that you're going to be working on selling here in the future. Tell us about it.
Oh, I wish I could show you. I wish I could show everybody the rifle. Yep, but it's called Bravo Oscar. Wait, where is that? And I named, that's one of the stickers. I named it the Bravo Oscar after the documentary. So let me preface what I'm going to say with all the proceeds from the rifle are going to help fund the documentary. As I said earlier, I've been having problems finding funding for the documentary. and I have a problem asking for it. So I really wanted to make certain that I gave the people something for it. Why not a damn rifle? Why not something you can protect yourself with? Why not something you can have fun with or put food on the table with if you want to? Why not something you can pass down to your children? Why not have something really tangible and useful to give, for that donation? So all the proceeds from the Bravo Oscar rifle are going to the documentary, but the rifle is so badass. I know we can't show a rifle here on certain formats. Can I show like a picture of a rifle or no?
Yeah, show it. We'll see what happens.
No, like I don't want to fuck you guys, but
move it over. I think it's in the way right there. Why don't you just move it over to the other side of the room? So for safety.
Oh, move it for safety.
Yeah,
I'll just like I said, I don't want my idiocracy to fuck you guys. So, but it's a badass rifle. Check it out on my Instagram. It's Aaargo Jay. It's all over my Instagram and Facebook. But it's made by American Defense Manufacturing. They're a badass company. They make a true ambidextrous gun. What I mean by true ambidextrous, there's a mag release, of course, on both sides. And there's also a bolt catch and release on both sides. A lot of ambi guns just have bolt releases on both sides, but this one has a bolt catch and a bolt release, so you never have to take your hand off fire control. It's fucking awesome. I threw all kind of Gucci ass parts on here. It has a Criterion barrel, a 1-in-7, 1-in-7, 1-in-8, 223 Wild, 14.5 inch pin and welded. It's got a Griffin armament flash comp on it. So it's suppressor ready out of the box. You've got Magpul Imbus Pro sights on there to keep it light and small. You've got a Radian Weapons Raptor charging handle on there, which is ambi. You got the Radian Weapons Talon ambidextrous safety on there. And it's just a baller ass rifle, a 3.5 pound CMC trigger on there. So anybody can get up and pull this trigger. I mean, it's a hell of a rifle. It's suppressor ready out of the box. It's ready to go out of the box. It is so badass. And what I'm going to do though is an American Defense Manufacturing has since started making optics. There's a red dot that's going to be available that you can pick up, but also with the red dot, I'm picking stuff off whatever might be over here. Could be a rifle, could not be, but I don't know. Hold on, I hope it's not seen. But they've just introduced, and I've got it so tight down on here. Anyway, a magnifier. Let's just get the magnifier there. There's the magnifier. It's a 5-power magnifier. The smallest 5-power. Oh shit! See, I showed a gun. He disappeared.
He just turned his camera off, I think.
Yeah. It's a 5 times magnifier. Okay. The smallest 5 times magnifier that's in production right now. So it's a badass offering. And I'm going to offer it in a pistol version. What I was just talking about was the carbine version, the full length rifle version, which has a pin and welded muzzle brake, 14.5 inch barrel. But I'm offering an 11.5 inch pistol version for those of you who like AR pistols as well. So, and then further on down the line, if things go well and we get enough sold, I'm going to offer receiver sets for those who like to build. And like I said, the company that is supporting me and manufacturing them is American Defense Manufacturing. It's a hell of a company. Right here in Wisconsin, I like to choose companies that are local to me because I like to keep that money in state because I want to make sure that my taxes stay as low as possible. You know what I mean? But you got to support local. It's great. There are great companies all over the country. Don't get me wrong. But I try to support local as much as I possibly can. Put some bread on the tables for the people that are busting your ass that are right here around you. So, but the rifle is awesome. The rifle right now, I'm not going to say it right now because I haven't released it officially yet. Okay. But it's going to be under $2,000. So I wanted to keep it under $2,000. It's not a starter rifle. It's not a beginner's rifle. And a lot of people are going to be like, well, why should I get this when I can get, a Palmetto State Armory rifle for $450? this isn't the rifle for you. I can't answer that question, you know. But if you do want a good rifle that you don't, and you don't want to have to buy any more rifles, it's a great place to start. You know, you have the capability of anybody picking up this gun and being able to run it because it's ambi. You know, it's very lightweight. It's not heavy at all. It's just a good ass rifle. Like, I was shocked that I didn't go to American Defense Manufacturing before. I had spent so much time building prototypes. I wish I could show you. Along this wall here in front of me, there are 4 rifles where I've been playing with, you know, to get to where I wanted this one. And I figured, why not, you know, instead of trying to make something ambi that's not, why not find an ambi rifle, a manufacturer that has an ambi lower or ambi capabilities? But then they weren't true ambis. And then the ones that were true ambis, like Knights Armament, LMTs, Cross, not Cross, what's the other one? Whatever, I can't think of it right now. They're so expensive, it's ridiculous. You know, you get an LMT lower for like almost damn near $800. You know what I mean? And a Knights Armament lower for $600. Like, no, that's ridiculous, man. That's just a lower. You know, so I wanted to keep it affordable. I wanted to make it practical. I wanted to make it suppressor ready because, like I said, it is suppressor ready out of the box. All you got to do is just buy a Griffin armament can. I wanted to put sights on it, whether a lot of people aren't using irons anymore, but some people are. You know, that's that option. But I put some sights on there, and I just wanted it to be a badass rifle. And I'm very, very excited. It premieres next week at SHOT Show. So I'm super excited, super nervous, but it's a great rifle. It's gonna support a great cause. It's gonna support Black Ops, the documentary. So if people didn't want to donate to the documentary, but they want to help out, buy yourself a rifle, and you'll be donating to the documentary at the same time. If you can't afford a rifle, or if you're in a state where we can't get, I'm working on making it compliant for California, New York, New Jersey, and other states that have compliance issues. Right now, the only state that I can make it compliant for is Maryland. But there's ways to make it New Jersey compliant. I'll just pin the stock and stuff like that. And it has a flash comp on it. It's not a flash suppressor. So, you know, that makes it Jersey legal. But, you know, we can do things to make to work around whatever your needs are. So if you want the Bravo Oscar and you live in a restricted state that has specific specifications for rifles, we'll work with you. So.
And for the training junkies out there, having that ambi rifle, if you're going to take any, I guess, any rifle course that's worth its weight, you should be doing stuff non-dominant hand only, injured shooter drills, and
transitions shoulder to shoulder. Yeah.
And if you're one of those guys that's going to, you know, has a handgun to fight to the rifle, and if your rifle isn't ambi, I mean, what kind of fight are you in where you don't want that capability? So definitely check that out. Look for the release next week. Or when is SHOT Show? 2 weeks?
On the 21st, is it?
21st. Yeah, sounds about
21st right. Through the 24th. Right. Yeah. So, but that's can you see this magnifier?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
5 times. Like most 5 times magnifiers are over 8 inches long. You know what I mean? Like, this thing is stupid. American Defense Manufacturing really put the work into this. Comes with a cool little titanium lever, you know, quick detach. You know, now these things don't come with the rifle. These are add-ons, of course. But I mean, you can get the package called the Duo. Do I have the box without choking myself here? No, they come in a package, all under $1,300 for both of these, like the magnifier and the optic. Like, when most times you can get an optic for $1,300, you get a magnifier for $1,300, or you know, you paying damn near $2,000. So you're looking at, and I might be misquoting, so it's $400, under $1,000 for the pair. I apologize. So, I mean, why not? You know, why not?
That sounds like a beast of a rifle, man. You can run the shit out of that thing, and you're not going to mess it up. We got a couple quick listener questions for you, Aaargo. And this is kind of just going back. So first thing, you're going to SHOT. Shout out to a couple of our local gun stores. Jackson over at Los Ranchos Gun Shop is on listening to us, and he wants to know what booth you're going to be at SHOT Show so he can come by and say hi.
Definitely. The rifle release is going to be on Tuesday. The time is not yet. We're working the times out because there's a whole lot going on at Shit Show. So if you, the best thing I can tell you is follow me on social media, because I'll have alerts from today all the way until we release the rifle. But the booth number is the American Defense Manufacturing booth, and I believe it's booth 32010. So 32010. Okay, 32010 is the booth that we're going to be at. I'll also have this prototype rifle at Media Day. So you'll be able to shoot the prototype at, I think it's SR39, but I'll put all that up on too. That's the bay number at Media Day for those of you that are going and want to shoot the rifle. So I definitely I'll have the prototype on hand. Also going to bring a suppressor. So like I said, it's suppressor ready. Why not throw a can on it so you can see what the hell you're getting and what the capabilities are in its fullest when you get there. So follow me on social media and we'll get there. We'll get you there. But if you're going to SHOT Show Tuesday, booth 32010, which is the American Defense Manufacturing booth. If you forget the number, just look up ADM in the SHOT Show app. I highly suggest everybody download the SHOT Show app. It just makes life easier at the shit show, because that's what it is if you've never been. But yeah, his name is Jackson, I think you said, right? Yeah. So I look forward to seeing you there. If you're there, shout me out, brother. Like talk to me and grab a rifle or two, or grab a pistol. Hell, I'll even work a deal and give you the early builder set if that's what you want. But like I said, I'm pushing it hard. One, to give people a good quality rifle, but also to help fund this documentary and help improve the culture and our culture. So
yeah, don't do that. Don't offer Jackson nothing, because then we're gonna see that rifle. It's gonna be here in Albuquerque, and he's gonna rub it in our face all the time. So don't do that. Just charge him double. Charge him double.
I'll charge him double. I definitely will.
Yeah.
But you get to shoot it also. I'm bringing the prototype, and I'm actually probably going to bring, the SHOT Show edition rifles to the train and learn event in Missouri also. So if you don't get yours by then, you'll be able to shoot it and see what you're getting and all that. So, and Carrie actually bought the first one. She was the first one. Carrie Sloan from We the Female and Stilettos and Shotguns. She bought the first pistol. She bought the first production model. And I just saw the samples of her Cerakote job, because we offer additional Cerakote on there if you want to. It is so badass. I don't even want to sell it to her. Like, I want to keep it. Like, I want to keep it, and unfortunately it won't be ready at SHOT. But this pistol is so fucking baller. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, the guy I'm having do the Cerakote is my buddy Zach in North Carolina from Weapon Works LLC. I don't know if anybody is familiar with him, but he started out small time. He's a Marine. Now he started a business at home a few years back, and I met him, and I've been loyal to him ever since, because he's a great dude. I love him to death. He's my brother, and his work is just second to none. Like, so many companies use him. Aero Precision. If you ever buy an Aero Precision rifle that's been Cerakoted, Zach did the work. So yeah. So it's I mean, I'm Aero, but yeah.
Is Weapon Works how it sounds, or is it WERKS?
WORKS.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have
there's a works company out there that spells it. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, WERK something. Yeah, but he's Weapon Works, and it's just like the inside of a barrel. The rifling of a barrel is his logo. Okay. So it's black and white or black and gray. I thought I had a business card of his around here somewhere, which I probably do. But yeah, no, Zach's a great dude. He knows there's so many craftsmen in this industry, like so many American craftsmen who are so good. And I'm not saying he's better than anybody or his work is superior, because there's so many that do such great work, but he's the one that I deal with, and he's the one that I stick to. And by far, his work has been the best that I've seen or dealt with, hands down. So with the exception of my buddy Mike from Blown Deadline, but you know, that's something different too, though. So.
Dang, I had a question and it'll come back to me, I think, most likely.
Oh shit! I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I just got a GoFundMe notification, so yeah, appreciate
it, Andy. I was trying to beat you to that.
Too slow, sucker.
I was gonna wait till we were off the damn air. Over there pulling the trigger like Carrie. Carrie got the first one of the truth pistol too, right?
Yep, she sure did. That's her thing. That's her thing. You know, she's gonna get the first of them all. So
she's got boobs. That's why.
Hell, shit! I've got boobs. If that's the case, bro.
Hey,
like,
I know, me too. But nobody wants to see mine. Man. I don't know.
Either. No, they see mine. Yeah. See my boobs. You gotta see. You gotta see the rest. So no, but
we know the story, Carrie. Just so you know.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to mention. Is talk to us a little bit about the train and learn event, Andy. I know Andy's going to that. I'm going to try to work my schedule around because it's something that last year I was kicking myself for not hearing about it sooner, and then this year I'm trying to make it work.
Yeah, I'll be presenting there, so it should be pretty awesome. But I'm not the right person to talk to about it because I don't have the passion that KD has for it. But this event is going to be legitimately what it says. We're going to train on firearms. You're going to learn about firearms. You're going to learn about how firearms relate to things like social media, how they relate to things like your family. Like I could go on and on. Like, it's just not shooting guns and we're training and that's it. No, there's like classroom time, there's workshops, there's so many knowledgeable people that'll be there sharing this information with you. This is information that if we had to sell it in a package, it would sell for thousands of dollars. And the price tag is legitimately, I think it's like $250, or something around there, you know. And it's so needed. It's something that's needed, and it's just like, I can't even begin. There were so many people that were talking shit about it when he first came up with the idea. And when he first came up with the idea, he had a lot of haters and naysayers. Oh, like what good is this going to do? What's the benefit? When it was over, the amount of information shared from people in the industry, celebrities, industry greats, regular people, trainers, people who are influencers, people who are in the legal community, as far as like lawyers and things like that, all kinds of information. Like, I can go on, and I would still never cover all the topics you're going to learn and that they're going to force feed you in those 2 days that you're going to be there. Hell, there was even a shooting. One of the people that came, that went, had to absolutely apply what he learned at the train and learn in real life the day after. Like, for those of you that don't know, MJ's Firearms, buddy Mike out of Chicago, left the train and learn event. On his way home in Chicago, he's walking in the house with his 5-year-old son. Gangbanger in Chicago's on the porch talking shit to him. He ignores him. The gangbanger pulls out a gun, starts to approach him. He had to lay him down, and he actually let off shots at him. So he, it wasn't like he just shot him because he had a gun in his hand. This gangbanger was coming for him. And he unfortunately had to lay him down, but fortunately he was the victor. But you talk about serendipity at its finest. Like what the fuck, man? Like, you couldn't have picked a worse person to try to violate. You know what I mean? This dude was so dialed in because of all the information he just got, all the training that he just went through in those 2 days. It's it's just phenomenal. Like I can't believe that that happened. But I'm glad it happened, not because somebody's dead, or not because Mike had to shoot somebody or got to shoot somebody, but I'm glad it happened to show the validity of what we do.
Yeah.
And this is why we do what we do. Right. And we look at it, and this is why gun control is a farce. Chicago, one of the worst places as far as gun control goes, right? But high amounts of illegal guns and illegal gun ownership and crimes committed with these guns. This dude was a felon. This dude was a known gangbanger on the Chicago PD's watch list. Okay. But yet and still, he had a firearm. All right. Now we're talking about Mike, who just happens to be an FFL. Okay. So he had his gun, but his buddy who was there with him. Okay. I don't know if you guys know Devin or Trenchwork Chronicles, was there with him from Virginia. But guess what? Devin couldn't legally possess his firearm in the city of Chicago. So he had to rely on Mike to protect him. What kind of shit is that where I have to rely on another man to protect me? You know what I mean? Because I can't legally do anything, let alone he had to protect his 5-year-old son. That's bad enough. But now we've got laws that are preventing a man from protecting his own life because somebody doesn't understand the importance of being able to be self-reliant. Like, that is asinine to me. So, you know, it just goes to show, I mean, and it shows so many more things. It shows how gun control affects disproportionately Black and brown communities, because this community was mainly Black and brown. He was a Latin king, I believe. Yeah, he was an LK. He was a Latin king. You know, and it's like we are affected. The people in the suburbs don't have the problems that people have. Oh, just move out of there. It's not that easy. You can't tell somebody where to live. You can't tell somebody how to live. But what you can tell somebody is how to protect themselves. You can empower them and enable them to be better and to be, like we said before, self-reliant. I think we're going back to that same phrase, you know. But the train and learn is awesome. So I suggest that everybody out there follow my man. I think his Instagram is The Real NOC, and his name is Kevin Dixie. He's a firearms trainer out of St. Louis. And this is just a phenomenal event. It's worth every penny that you're going to spend. And this is, and the first year it was large, it was massive. You know, this year it's going to be stupid. And I use the word stupid for a lot of things, and I don't mean bad. I mean, it's going to be bananas. There's going to be so many people to speak, so many people to learn from and train from, and get information from. Why wouldn't you do this for $250? Come on. Like, you know, you get a weekend, and I know they provide, and we're going to shoot all into the night. I don't know if they provide food at the event or not, but I think so too. I want to be that they do.
So that price, that's $250.
Yeah,
you can take a terrible class, a terrible one-day class for more than that. And then
absolutely no food.
No food, shitty instruction if you get any instruction. So you should definitely check out that train and learn event. I think it's going to be something. I know I was kicking myself for not getting in on it last year, and I hope I'm not kicking myself for not getting in on it this year. So check that out. And I really quick want to circle back to the documentary, Black Ops documentary. I think one of the things that we didn't really hit on or miss on, and it might be off base, but I think there's something to be said to the stereotype that the only Black people that own guns are gangbangers and criminals, right? And I think that perpetuates the justification for minorities, not just black folks, but minorities, for not owning guns, right? If you constantly hear that the only types of people, the only minorities that have these guns, the only Black people that have guns are criminals and gangbangers, that's going to instill a reluctance in yourself to think that you have a need or a reason to own firearms. And that really can't be further from the truth.
Right. And that's, and what you just said is why the lady looked at Andy and turned her face up with his Black Guns Matter shirt, because we've been conditioned in our community. When I was younger, I liked guns, but I was afraid of guns because of what I didn't know, because of the ignorance. You know, we've been conditioned to think that guns are the reason that our community is suffering from violence, and that's not it. You know, violence is not subsequent of a tool. Like, it doesn't come from the owning of a tool or possession of a tool. Like, violence comes from ignorance. Violence comes from hate. Violence comes from greed. Violence comes from a number of different things. But in order for us to combat it, we have to be educated. We have to educate the people, inform them of their rights, educate them and inform them on how to be proper and responsible gun owners. I mean, I just had a post, I don't know if you guys saw it, here in Milwaukee a couple of days ago. 2 kids, 12 and 13, were shot because they were throwing snowballs at cars. That's not the kind of gun owner that we want. I don't want that fucker to be around me with a firearm. And you're shooting kids for being kids. And people were like, well, the kids, that could be dangerous. Yes, it can be dangerous, but it didn't pose a threat of life like that. Yes, it can be deadly. I'm not saying that it can't be, but it didn't pose enough of a threat for you to pull out your firearm and shoot a 12 and a 13-year-old. Luckily, they only sustained non-life-threatening injuries, but we don't know how that's going to affect them psychologically or emotionally or even physically later on in life. Just because it wasn't life-threatening doesn't mean that they're okay. They got shot and they're children. That is fucked up. Like, that's not the kind of person I want to own a firearm. So, it's important that we absolutely teach the entire American citizenry how to be a responsible gun owner and what their rights are and the purpose of firearms. Purpose of firearms is not to be evil, but to prevent and protect from evil. So,
yeah, I don't think you could have said it any better. It's we had an incident here in Albuquerque where this dude, gun owner, right up until this point, he probably would have been a responsible gun owner. This guy, this jackwagon, as Johnny would say, but he had what did he have? He had lights. He had like fake police lights in his car.
Yeah.
The dude had like a CB radio. He probably had a CCW badge. 2 kids in the car, gets into a road rage, or not even a road rage incident. This lady stops him on the street and says, hey, this guy's harassing me or something. So this dude turns on lights, gives chase, pulls out a gun on him, shoots at him in traffic.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, dude, what in the hell are you doing?
While he's recording himself calling 911.
What?
Yeah, go check out you heard of Donut Operator?
Yeah, I've heard of him. I don't know, but
so go check out Donut Operator, and he actually talks about the whole thing from start to finish. It's freaking hilarious. He's like, this dude has a haircut. He looks like a police officer would pull over his own grandma to give her a ticket. You got to watch it, man.
I can't stand those wannabe cop dudes. You know what I'm saying? Dangerous. They're fucking dangerous, man. But, speaking about responsible gun owners, I don't know if you guys saw the video out of Florida, out of Miami. This guy got jumped by 3 dudes. So after he gets jumped, he goes to his car, grabs a pistol and his AR, and then proceeds down the street to talk shit to these dudes. You know what I mean? Now, he didn't pull the trigger, but this is what we need to teach people. He was a legal firearm owner, but now you have now nullified any legality by being the pursuer. You know what I mean? Like, you got your ass kicked. That's fucked up, but it is what it is. Like, you can't go and now, if he'd have had his firearm on him at the time while these 3 dudes were beating him up and he discharged his firearm, that's different, because there's a such thing called disparity of force. You got 3 men on 1 man that could, that could prove to be imminently dangerous, and he could, there's a threat of loss of life there. Okay, but now the incident's over. You're alive and fine. You don't get to go grab your gun and chase down these dudes who just jumped you. And that's because we don't have that lack. We have that lack of education. Okay, we have that lack of proper and responsible gun ownership. Okay, yeah. Young dude, and I'm sure he bought it. He did. He bought it legally. I'm sure. I hope. I pray. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Say he did. And now, because you're hot and you're upset and you're hurt, you're willing to nullify that. No, we need people to be thinkers. And that's why training, that's why education is key. We can prevent a lot of shit if we just educate the populace. If we just educate the people, if we just give them the information, okay, they can decide for themselves whether they want to do it or not. And whatever, based on whatever decision they make, we'll move forward then. Your actions will warrant whatever consequence you get, but let's not think for people. Let's not have people relying on us to think for them or being dependent on us. That's where we fail. That's where we fail as a country. That's where we fail as a society. That's where we fail as individuals. You know, I posted today on Instagram this post about this African community. An anthropologist went to this African community, told these kids that, you know, this big basket of sweet fruit that he had. He said, I'm going to place this basket of fruit under this tree, and the first one that gets to it can have all the fruit. So when he gave the signal to go, all the kids grabbed hands and they all ran to the fruit together. And then they got the fruit together and they all sat down and ate together. When he asked them, why didn't they just go individually so that they could have had more? One of the kids said, whatever, Ubuntu, I think it is. I'm fucking it up, but go look at my post. Which means I am because we are, pretty much. Like, we are one of another. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I only exist because you exist. I can only coexist if you coexist and are happy. Why would I be happy and the rest of us aren't? Like, that's that mentality, that philosophy that has been lost. And that's what's important. And that's where we need to go back to. You know, it's sad that that's lost, but you know, that whole all for one thing is gone. E pluribus unum, gone. You know what I mean? Like, the idea of it is great. The actual ideal has been lost here in America.
Yeah, I agree. So we're about 2 hours in, and I know we got to give you back your night and everybody else. I got one more question, listener question from you, or for you, Aaargo. So you've been an advocate. You've gone to these rallies. You've gone to a lot of these things, and we have a question from one of our listeners, Ruben. What's your thoughts on open carry?
Wisconsin, the state that I live in, is an open carry state. Okay, we have open carry here. If you don't have your concealed carry, you can carry your firearm openly, and it's great if that's your only means to protect yourself. I only have problem with open carry when people do these 2A audits and things like that. Like, it's dangerous, you know, because like the asshole in Missouri right after the shooting, you know what I mean? That dude, you know, like we have to be tactful when we act. If open carry is the only way you can carry a firearm in order to keep yourself safe, I'm all for it. I'm not a fan of open carry, though. I believe it alarms people unwarrantedly. You know what I mean? I believe that a lot of people are put on alert and alarm by people who open carry. I think people abuse open carry. Like, if you're going to open carry, fine. Open carry your pistol. Why do you have to sling your AK on your back? Why do you sling your AR on the back? Just because you can? I get it. I can go out here and pull my dick out on the street, but does that mean that I'm not going to have there's not going to be a consequence for it? Like, there is. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, it's, you know, it's that slippery, it's kind of a, you know, it's a hard question to answer because there is some validity in open carry. But I think there have been way too many things that have made open carry difficult for the citizens to do, and you know, it's just a hard topic to really cover. You know, if that's the only way that you can carry a firearm to protect your life, and you're still going to be a responsible citizen while you open carry, and not, you know, menace the rest of the people in society around you, you know. I'm all for it because I'm all about being able to protect yourself and your family.
Yeah, 100%. You know, a lot of times we see these rallies, and I think more respectively. So we're having the same problem in New Mexico. Discussions about to start up. Red flag laws are already on the books. They're already on the bill. You know, and we're having a lot of people talking about rallies, and you know, I've been kind of against rallies a little bit. I haven't thought that they do good, and I've kind of changed my stance on that. But one thing I don't change my stance on is, man, everybody leave your battle rifle or your battle rattle at home. Leave your rifle at home. You know, it's not helping us. We're not scaring anybody by going and standing at our Capitol with our ARs and our rifles and our AKs out there thinking that this is how we're going to make that stand. Because, you know, we have some Republicans that are in our roundhouse that have said, man, you guys got to stop this because we like carrying too. And if you keep pushing it, these people are going to ban our firearms. We can't even walk in here with our own firearms. So
look what happened in Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. It just happened in Virginia. So, and people need to listen to this thing, leave the egos at home right along with your rifle in the safe. We got to stop doing stuff like this. So
we do. We caught so much pushback at the rally in DC recently, this past November. People were, oh man, I'm not going. If I can't take my gun, I'm not going. Listen to me, man. I don't care what war, what fight it is. Before it happened, before it came to an actual blow, the very first blow, before it came to that first blow being thrown, there had to be some sort of peaceful interaction, that didn't work or whatever before it came to it. For us, we are at war. But if you're not willing to do the peaceful part of it, I don't trust you to get dirty with me. I don't trust you when it's go time. If you can't go to a rally and fight for your rights, if you can't, and I'm not speaking to you in general, I'm speaking just generally, like if you can't go and do the peaceful part of the fighting, I don't trust you to do the dirty work. I don't trust you in the trenches, because like how do you know that the peaceful part of it isn't going to have a positive outcome? And if you're not willing to put boots to ground and go that route, then you'll never find out. And I can't be the only one doing it. It was the first rally and we had about 3,000 to 4,000 people there, which I think was a great turnout. Next year, we're hoping to get upwards of 10,000 people there. But they have to see, and that's what they expect. They want us to come with our guns so they can say, see, they're in violation of the law. That's what we're talking about. And these fucking idiots are ready to give it to them. You're ready to give it to them by bringing your rifle on the U.S. Capitol grounds, on federal grounds. So how can we call ourselves responsible firearms owners if we're not following the rule of law? If we're not following the rule of law that we're trying to change, no less, we're hypocrites, and our word becomes moot. Our point becomes moot. Like it's done and it's dead. It's dead. We're fighting for nothing. So I do think rallies are good, but it has to be done right. It has to be done in the right guise. It has to have the right organization, and you have to have the right people looking and listening at the rally. If nobody's listening and you're just preaching to the choir, it's a waste of fucking time. We did this on the Capitol steps, and guarantee you, I was in contact with my state senator and he contacted other senators. People knew about this. People knew, and our voices were heard. And I put a video, I did an IGTV video on it. You can go check it out, where I kind of mashed together bits and pieces of a lot of people's speeches. But, we are all there saying the same damn thing. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what you believe in, what you look like, what your color is, what your sexual preference is. We're American citizens. Our rights are under attack. And that's that. We've got to fight back, because I can't give up my right to protect myself and my family because you don't think I should have it. That means I got to fight you. I got to fight you, speaking about the government. So no, I think rallies can be good, but it has to be done correctly though. So I wasn't a fan of rallies either before. So I'm not even going to act like I'm on a high horse or something. I wasn't, I thought they were useless too, until I actually started being more active in activism. So, which is why I kind of shied away from YouTube, because I'm more in the activist side of it. Plus, everybody's doing the same damn guns. Unless you're top tier on YouTube, you're going to see the same shit recycled throughout YouTube. And I didn't really want to be the same as everybody else. But, the louder our voices are, the more we stand together, the louder our voices are, and the louder we'll be heard. So, that's why rallies are a good thing, I think.
Nice. You're in Wisconsin, you said?
Yes, sir.
What time? You're 2 hours ahead or 1 hour?
Yeah, it's 11. It's almost 11 o'clock here.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you giving us this much time. For those listeners and watchers, go to gofundme.com/blackops.doc. Follow Aaargo on Instagram. It's Aaargo Jay, AARGO Jay. And I think I made first show I made it through without messing up somebody's name or Instagram. So, and then hey, if y'all are out there, stop yelling at people. Have conversations with folks, whether they agree with you or not. There are some folks that you're not going to be able to convince, and stop trying to convince them. You're just wasting your breath and your time, and you're building up some frustration and hate within your heart that's going to allow you, or that's going to make you to miss those conversations with the folks that are open to hearing you out.
Absolutely.
Remember, it's your life, it's your safety and protection, it's your responsibility. You guys stay safe, and we'll see you next week. And I think